everyone, and welcome back to Flying Over 50 at Any Age. I'm Cyrus Webb, joined by my lovely co-host, celebrity publicist, and best-selling author Makeda Smith. So glad you got to join us on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and on X. Going to bring in our friends over on Instagram so they can be a part of our show for today. And last but certainly not least, going to bring in our friends over on Amazon so we can get our show started. As you can notice, we're on a different day today. There was some tech issues going on yesterday, so we weren't able to be with you, but we were excited about the opportunity about being able to be with you for week number 20 of our series that we're doing here on Amazon. Going to be connecting with our friends here on Amazon as soon as they can catch up with us. There they are. And then we can get into our show for today and a very important topic that I think all of us will be able to benefit from. And we are live now on Amazon Live with Flying Over 50 at Any Age. I'm Cyrus Webb, joined by my co-host, Makeda Smith. She's the author of the book, Flying Over 50 at Any Age. You guys can see it there in the carousel, both the print edition as well as the Kindle edition. If you have not gotten your copy of the book, make sure you guys do that. We're in week number 20 of our series, Makeda Smith. Week number 20. How you doing?
Woohoo! Week 20. I'm doing fine, Cyrus. Thank you.
Well, look, I'm doing amazing. I'm getting a little sad, Makeda, I have
You're
to
getting
say.
sad, Cyrus.
I'm being totally serious. I have to let our audience know. I've known Makeda for over a decade. This is the most time we've ever spent together. Makeda, we never talk every week, every
I have a feeling that once this is over, it's not going to be over. You're going to create something else.
Well, okay. All right. Yes. And Makeda and I have our own work to be able to do. We'll be letting you guys know about that. But Makeda, we do have a great message for today. I'm going to go ahead and jump into it.
Okay.
But before we do, I do want to say one thing about today's message. And I hope our audience gets this because I think it's so easy for us to take things for granted. I think Makeda's message today, and I'll be reading today, really shows how we have to be open to things. And sometimes what we need is right in front of us. And Makeda shows us today. So Makeda, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with our audience here so they can be able to read along with us. And we'll go ahead and get started. Again, week number 20, the topic, as you guys can see, is See the Signs. Actually, I can just read off the screen here. I'm a firm believer in angels in our midst. I also believe the universe sends us signs as guideposts, but you must be in tune enough to see them. It was 2011, and I was still reeling from having lost everything and coping daily through my dark night of the soul, which, as I mentioned already, was lasting for years. People ask how I can laugh about one of the darkest periods of my life. Well, because in retrospect, I now know that I was being spiritually upgraded and prepped for the future. I've told this story in several of my interviews, but it's an integral part of my survival tale and worth repeating here. I was living in a one-bedroom apartment close to the east, non-glamorous side of Hollywood. My daughter and my play daughter were living with me. The repo people had finally located me, so my cherished convertible Benz was gone. But it didn't matter. Parking around Hollywood was scarce, and I walked everywhere. And since my surrounding boulevards were Sunset and Hollywood, my daily walks were always interesting. I recall walking down Vine Street between Hollywood and Sunset one day and seeing a blonde-haired woman doing a split in the middle of the sidewalk. She was being photographed. I remember thinking, wow, about her flexibility. I hadn't worked out in years and had dropped a lot of weight due to my deep depression, but her athleticism caught my eye. It seemed that no sooner than I had this thought, that same woman was walking beside me. As my mind was trying to make out how she had gotten up from her split pose on the ground so quickly and was now walking right next to me, she gave me a cheerful, "Hello, darling," and a strong British accent. Hello, I responded. Weren't you that lady just doing a split and being photographed? Yes, darling, she responded. Some young gent approached me asking for a photograph, so I dropped into a split for him. This woman had so much vitality of spirit, I was absolutely intrigued. As we continued to chat, I asked her age. I was 50, so I was guessing maybe we were around the same age. Darling, I'm 75, she revealed. I stopped dead in my tracks and gushed, no. She assured me yes, and we continued to chat. I asked her what her secret to such amazing energy and usefulness was. She disclosed to me that she had been practicing yoga since her 40s. We continued to converse until we reached our parting street corners, and I asked her name. When she revealed it, I burst into tears. Her name was Magda. Magda and Makeda are sacred goddess names from the divine feminine Magdalene bloodline. I knew in my heart she was a guardian angel sent to divert me from my self-imposed path of personal destruction. Magda was the inspiration I needed. I set out to find a yoga class and get my mojo back. Has the universe ever sent you signs? Have you been astute enough to read them? You can fly high by reading your direction manual and acknowledging the post along the way. What clues have caused you to pivot on your path? What hints have you missed along your way? Makeda, this is I know I say this all the time, but this is a powerful one. And it's powerful for a few reasons for me
Mhm.
personally. One is how honest you are about the situation you were in,
Mhm.
and then what you were doing to not let it basically overwhelm you. Like you had gone through this dark period, even going through having your vehicle repossessed, and yet here you were walking. You know what I'm saying? And looking at, okay, it's not like, things are the best for vehicles anyway. I mean, what was that like for you, even in writing this particular day, to think about how, even as you were going through these things, how again, see how movement shows up, how you could keep it moving?
I don't know. I guess it probably would have just been easier to lay in the bed. I don't know why, but I would get up and walk every day.
Mm,
But part of it was living in, even though I was in the like ghetto part of Hollywood, I was close enough to walk to the tourist part of Hollywood.
mhm.
And walking through Hollywood, you would just it would uplift my spirits and take me out of my dreary reality. So I would go walk every day. But I smile because I think about meeting when I met Magda, it was it was like when I think about it now, it was like if I was watching a movie and that was a scene from a movie. It was literally like real life, but it was a scene from a movie because
Yeah.
seeing her doing this split, which was like, who is this doing a split on the concrete in the middle of the sidewalk with people, moving around her, and she's totally oblivious. She's just doing this fabulous split, and there's this guy taking pictures of her, which
Hmm.
is not really strange for Hollywood, but it's still a little strange.
Right.
But then, like seconds later, she was literally walking next to me. And in my mind, I was like, that can't be the same lady who was doing the split because how did she get up and make it? And why is she walking right next to me? Like it was so bizarre. It was really like a scene out of a movie.
Yeah.
So it just makes me smile.
Yeah.
So, but in terms of the like how you really do have to keep things moving because had I was really in a deep depression, and
Yeah.
had I just stayed in bed that day, I would have missed that whole experience.
Yeah.
So I guess you do got to keep it moving no matter what.
No matter what. And
Yeah.
I think there's so many little messages for myself as a reader
Hmm.
in reading this. I'm going to go back and then we'll talk about the picture.
Okay.
Um, let's see. I want to make sure. Let's make sure it's okay. Yeah, it is showing. Okay, good. So two things you said early on in this
Mhm.
particular day that I wanted to go back to because I think this is so important. You
Okay.
say people ask how I can laugh about one of the darkest periods of my life. Well, because in retrospect, I now know that I was being
Yeah.
spiritually upgraded and prepped for the future. That's a powerful realization. Talk to us about that realization and how it hit you.
Well, I certainly didn't know it then when I was going through it. Like, you know what? I have to say, like, I didn't consciously know it then, but I probably subconsciously or unconsciously knew it.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know. That period was so dark and I was so depressed and I kept going like, why me? Why me?
Yeah.
Why is all this happening to me? But
Right.
then another part of me was like, you have to get through this because there's something for you on the other side. It goes back to, I think we talked about this a few chapters back. Like I knew, like I didn't come this far to get this far.
Yeah.
Like even though I felt like, oh my God, why me? Then another voice in me would be like, but you couldn't have come this far to get this far. Like that doesn't make sense. So you just have to move. It was like moving through mud or like drudging through quicksand. I knew I just had to keep moving through it,
Yeah.
you know? And then it was like years later, as I look back upon that time, like several years later, it was like, oh, I had to go through all that because it prepared me for this. Like, I mean, it was like a realization years later. It wasn't in that moment.
Hmm.
Years later, I realized that was all part of my spiritual upgrade.
Hmm.
Because I would say one more thing, because I've always been a really spiritual person. But it's easy to be spiritual and stay in gratitude when everything in your life is going fine. And
Right.
everything in my life up to that had been like perfection,
Yeah.
perfection. So it was easy to get up and meditate, exercise, give everybody positive affirmations and affirm wonderful things because everything was wonderful. And then when all that was taken away from me, it was like, okay, are you going to be true to your spiritual self and continue on this path? Or are you going to like just lay down and die and be like, forget everything?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And then you meet Magda,
Yes.
and her telling you her age was one thing,
Was one
but
thing.
but talk to us about just hearing her name, how that brought you to tears.
Yeah. To this day, to this day, I know that Magda, I say Magda too, but she goes, Magda.
Magda, gotcha. Yeah.
But Magda was because she had a British accent, but and I've lost track of her over the years. Magda's
Mm,
probably I think she's still alive. I hope she's still alive. I Googled her a few months ago and I didn't see any obituary or anything. So
mm,
maybe she's still alive, but we lost track of each other. Because she's probably close to like 90 now, 55, 80.
wow.
Yeah, she's over 85. That was yeah, yeah. So I don't even know if she's still here, but she was an angel to me. And she knows she was an angel to me because we stayed in touch over the years. And
Mm,
once I gained some notoriety in the pole community and started doing interviews, I always acknowledged her and I would send her copies of the interviews and I would send her pictures of me on the pole and I would tell her you inspired all this. So I got a chance to give her like homage while while
mm,
while she was alive or while we were in touch with each other while
wow.
we were in touch with each other. But um she was an angel. That's all I can say. It's like I know in my heart she was an angel sent to me because me meeting her that day changed the trajectory of my life
Mm,
because her spirit infused me with hope. I was so depressed. Every day I woke up and I was just like, I would stay and still I rise. And then I would go, but I don't know why I'm rising. Like, I'm really ready. I was ready to leave the planet. Like,
yeah.
I was just like, my work here is done. I don't even know why I'm still here. And when
Yeah.
I met her and when she told me she was 75, I was like, oh my gosh, she's 75 and she's brilliant and vivacious and spirited and just full of life and joy and love and laughter and it just infused me with hope and her telling me yoga was her secret. I was like, and she started when she was 40. My brain was calculating. I was like, well, I'm 50, so I'm 10 years behind, so I gotta catch up. Yoga is the secret. I got to go find a yoga class. And interestingly enough, there was a yoga studio across the street from me where I was living in Hollywood. So I did go take a yoga
Wow.
class, but that yoga class almost killed me because I just jumped into this yoga class and I was like, "Ooh, Lord, I can't do this. This is going to wear me out." But taking that yoga class put me on the path to finding the pole studio. And my first pole studio class, the first 20 minutes of class, we warmed up with yoga. So what she has said about the yoga, I found yoga. And I still do yoga to this day. And now I do yoga independently of the pole. I do yoga as a warm up for the pole, but I still do yoga like every morning. It's like yoga is like part of my religion, and that was all her planting that seed.
Wow. So talk to us about the photo for this day, Makeda.
I just love that photo.
Mhm.
Let me see. I guess in terms of I think that photo is just I think it represents triumph for me, having overcome such a dark low time to be triumphantly up in the air, what, 8, 9, 10 feet up in the air on a pole with like big shoes on and just flying. like for instance, when I encountered Magda that day into this photo, which was like several years later, is two totally different people. In that
Mhm.
photo, I have the energy, the spirit, the love, the life, the joy, the hope that Magda instilled in me that day when I was walking down Hollywood Boulevard, wondering like, why am I still
Why
walking
you
on
still
this
here?
planet?
Right, right. And so you asked some important questions for us
Mhm.
then in this particular message. Has the universe ever sent you signs? Have you been astute enough to read them?
Yes, that's
I
a
think
huge.
that is the big thing. And then you also said, of course, what clues have caused you to pivot on your path? What do you hope this message does, Makeda, in getting people to one to realize what is in front of them, right?
Yeah.
But then also to see how that can affect their lives.
Yeah, it's like the name of the chapter, See the Signs. I really
Mhm,
feel like we are all surrounded. I say this, it may sound crazy, but we are all surrounded by angels.
mhm, mhm.
And our angels do send us signs. And even if you don't like literally believe in angels, there's a goodness or a good energy, or there's high frequencies around us that we can tap into. And in
Right.
terms of seeing the signs, the universe will send you signs. Some people, like I was saying the other day, some people just call them coincidences. I never call them coincidences. I call them sacred synchronicities. And sometimes you'll wonder why something happened, or is something, like if you're really open to it and aware, the universe will give you the signs you need to take it to the next level.
Mhm.
Magda was the sign I needed. The first sign was she caught my eye because she was doing this split in the middle of the sidewalk.
Yeah.
That was like the first sign. And
Yeah.
then the next thing I know, she was literally walking right next to me. Like it seemed like seconds later.
Mhm.
So that was another sign. And then the next sign was her telling me about the yoga. And then the next sign was her telling me her age. And then the sign of her telling me her name. And I knew from my research that those names were related. So it
Mhm.
was like a series of signs. So I
Yeah.
had to pay attention.
Yeah. And I think the message from me in this, Makeda, hello to you, Allie. Good to be able to see you over there on IG, is to don't be so lost or have your head down so much that you don't see what's in front of you. Because we
Mm,
can keep our heads so down and downcast, and so that we miss out on what is happening
yeah.
around us. But the fact that you were able to be aware really says a whole lot, and I think that's such a great thing. Again, everyone, day number 20 of
20.
Makeda's book, flying over 50 at any age. The message again in today's, as she heard her say, is see the signs. It's a great reminder for all of us. Makeda, another great message. Again, another example of the importance of movement, but also taking action, as you did by getting into yoga after that, and how that kind of changed everything for you. How can our audience stay connected with you, Makeda?
I'm at Flying Over 50 and the Makeda Method. Those are my IG pages and my website.
Yeah. Allie says, "I love sacred synchronicities," they definitely do happen, and I think it's such an amazing thing. Thank you for adjusting for us, everyone. Appreciate you being with us as we dealt with the tech issues yesterday. Makeda, thank you so much for adjusting, and looking forward to next week at our regular time.
Thank you, everybody, for checking in.
Appreciate you all, and we
Yes.
definitely thank you all for tuning in to Flying Over 50 at Any Age. Until next time, you all make it a great one. We'll talk to you soon. Take care.